Today on Notsam Wrestling, Cody Rhodes and Seth Rollins are making Crown Jewel a lot bigger. Speaking of Crown Jewel, we know who John Cena's next opponent will be, and it won't be Brock Lesnar, a very talked about ending to Smackdown for all the potentially wrong reasons, a new NXT champion, and so much more. This is Notsam Wrestling. Welcome to Notsam Wrestling. Hope everybody's doing great out there. Some good news. There are Sam Roberts action figures available again. Yes, part of Mattel's WrestleMania Elite Series this year. This is for real. If you go to ringsidecollectibles.com, you can get the set of WrestleMania 42 Elite figures. That's Jake the Snake Roberts, Seth Rollins, John Cena, and who am I missing? And Stardust, of course. And if you get all four figures, you can build your very own Sam Roberts Mattel WWE Elite action figure. You can put in promo code NOTSAM. I think these are now back ordered till November, except they're less expensive than they were before, so now's the time to jump on, I suppose. If you want a little Sam Roberts in your collection, I've purchased many sets already for myself, but if you know me at all, that probably doesn't really surprise you. It was a big week this week with, we were all coming off already of WrestlePalooza into Crown Jewel and what it's all going to look like. And of course, the title versus title matches. Well, not champion versus champion matches, I should say, because the titles are not on the line. But, and very interesting, like last week, I was still, even when I was doing this podcast, before any matches had officially been announced, speculating like, oh, it's in Perth. Maybe Rhea Ripley will get the shot against Stephanie Vaquer. And it's like, hey, dum-dum, Stephanie Vaquer will fight the WWE Women's Champion. She's the Women's World Champion. And I was like, yeah, duh, obviously. I have no idea why that slipped my mind. I guess just it being Perth and Stephanie Vaquer being a new champion. I don't know what to tell you. I got excited. But, the thing that happens a lot with these champion versus champion matches is you start to feel like it's an exhibition. You start to feel like it really is more about the names on the marquee than about a big match that is going to dictate how story goes going forward. You almost start to feel like, okay, it's champion versus champion. They're going to be, literally, no titles are going to be exchanged. And after this show, these two superstars aren't even going to be on the same program anymore. So we're doing it right now. One of them is going to get a ring, and then we're going to continue on with business as usual. In the meantime, we're going to get a cool match. And that's what it starts to feel like. And while you can get excited for a cool match, you can't invest in it the same way you would if it were a match full of story, with depth and stuff that made you feel good about the level of detail that you've been paying attention to. But that's changed with the fact that we have narrowed it down to Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes as the main event of Crown Jewel. World Heavyweight Champion versus WWE Champion, except this time. So the first time they did this was last year. And it was Cody Rhodes versus Gunther, and it was all good, and it worked. Cody Rhodes as the baby face of all baby faces. Gunther is the heel of all heels. And just the perfect story of Cody having to fight from below in order to get that first ever Crown Jewel title and be able to wear that ring for the first time. And I'm sure there's nothing Cody would like more than to have a ring on each finger. He wants to be Tom Brady, okay? Tom Brady's got, 6 rings? Something like that? Cody wants to be QB1. And that's ultimately what this match is actually all about. Not getting a ring, not Seth having a ring, not Cody having a ring around their finger, but the idea that there can only be one person who is the guy in the WWE. And since that World Heavyweight title was introduced, because Roman Reigns had basically taken the WWE Championship hostage, the comparisons were immediately made, and people were talking about one as if it were a B championship and an A championship. And for me, it's like it's a very difficult story to tell because ultimately you don't want to damage either title, right? If you're doing a match where you're determining which is the A champion, which is the B champion, what you don't want to do is put a marker on a championship that this is the B championship, because then anybody who's fighting for it gets damaged by it. You just can't do it. But if the overarching story, if we're telling a story, if the overarching story becomes bigger than that and more about two guys who, for real, want to be the face of the company more than anything else in the world, well, then it doesn't necessarily become so much about an A champion and a B champion. It becomes about which of these two champions are the face that represents WWE in a post-Roman Reigns bloodline championship world. Who is that next? Because Roman Reigns was very different from John Cena. But I think both Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes, because they came up under John Cena, define that top guy position as that John Cena position, that workhorse position, that be on every show position, that go and do all the media, all the appearances, all the signings, and then act in movies on the side position, right? The fact that Cody Rhodes steps away and does a little bit of Street Fighter and then is right back into it. He's not picking one or the other. He's doing both, because that's what the modern top guy does. That's what the modern top guy looks like. The modern top guy does not go, oh, well, now I'm going to kind of segue into acting. The modern top guy says, I'm going to step away for 4 weeks to shoot this movie. But ultimately, when this movie comes out, I'm the top guy in WWE and also a big part of this movie, whether it's Street Fighter, whether it's having a bit part in Naked Gun, whatever it is. That's the new sort of, I think, modern way to be the guy. But Seth Rollins' whole mission of his character has been, I'm the future and I'm shaping the WWE around me. And when you listen to interviews, and this is why, to me, the Cody Rhodes, Seth Rollins thing becomes an everything counts. There's so much about Cody and Seth that is an everything counts scenario, and you know more than anything on this show. I love an everything counts scenario, because when you get to a place where everything counts, instead of feeling like a fool for spending hours upon hours of your week watching professional wrestling, instead of that, you're rewarded for it. You go, because I've watched all this wrestling, because I have this in-depth detail into who these characters are and what motivates them, well, now I'm being rewarded because all of that I've learned about these characters is coming out in this story. And you've got a Seth Rollins who, if you watch on television, the character talks about being at the top of the industry. The character talks about being the one to take hold of this industry. And this go even before he was turning heel. It was about not letting CM Punk back. It was about being the guy to kind of be that gatekeeper, to kind of be the guy who's going to shape what wrestling looks like. And then that evolves into this heel Seth Rollins that's kind of gone mad with in that quest for power. But at the same time, the real life Seth Rollins, when he's doing interviews and stuff like that, he's not talking about being the top guy. He's not talking about being the world champion. He's talking about the idea that in his mind, there is a world where one day he steps away from being in the ring, but he's not going out and training people. He's doing Triple H's job. Seth Rollins has done interviews talking about wanting to eventually be the guy that steps up and takes over for Triple H. And it's his show. And I'm sure Cody Rhodes thinks the same exact way. Cody Rhodes is obsessed with being the top guy. You listen to that podcast that he did with Bruce Pritchard, and you can hear it in his voice. The way, like, having to be the top guy in an era where Roman Reigns is already there is his sort of, is the thing that is the chip on his shoulder. It's his mission. It's his reason for being in a professional sense. And I'm sure that he sees this as a forever thing. When he looks at role models in his life, who does he have that's a role model in his life that was a top guy that then evolved into a booker that ran the territory? Oh, gee, I don't know, his father, Dusty Rhodes. That's what Dusty did. He was the top guy, and then he was the booker. Except Dusty is also, and was also, Seth's mentor. Seth was the quintessential dusty kid of that NXT class. And so he too sees that path of going from top guy to being the booker. So what you've got, but you can't have two guys in the same territory be the top guy that then transitions into booker. Only one guy can be that guy. And that's ultimately what this Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes story to me is truly about in a deeper sense. And then you go back into the past, and like I was so glad that they brought up the trifecta of matches, Cody's first 3 PLE matches back in the WWE when the American Nightmare first appeared was, WrestleMania, Backlash, and then the Hell in a Cell match with Seth Rollins. The third one being when he had the torn pec and all the bruising and everything. But he went 3-0 against Seth Rollins in those matches. But those matches are the matches that defined who Cody Rhodes was to a WWE audience that maybe hadn't seen him since Stardust. At the same time, something that I didn't even consider was it's never really been tackled, the fact that Seth Rollins acted as Cody's shield. The fact that Seth Rollins is forever ingrained, not only in, I would argue, what are the 2 most important matches in Cody Rhodes' entire career? Number 1, I would say the return match at WrestleMania 38. And this is, you could flip. This is 1A and 1B. But the first match I think of is the return match to the WWE, Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes, WrestleMania 38. And the second one would be Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns, WrestleMania 40. Those are the 2, in whatever order you want to put them in, most important matches in the career of Cody Rhodes. And who is forever attached to those matches? Seth Rollins at 38 because he's the opponent, and at 40 because he's the shield to Cody Rhodes. He's the final piece of the puzzle that allowed Cody to finally conquer Roman Reigns, to in that moment become the man. And not only has it never been established if Seth was doing this just because the industry needed the championship off Roman Reigns, because that's what Seth said, right? He said Roman cannot continue to hold this company hostage, to hold this industry hostage. For the health of the industry, the title cannot be on Roman Reigns, and Cody, you're in the position to be the guy to take it away from him. It was never necessarily about Cody being the guy for the future of the industry. It was about Cody being the guy to take the title from Roman Reigns, who was going to hurt the industry, to bring the WWE Championship back into general population. So maybe if Cody wasn't the guy in Seth's mind, that the guy could then get it, and maybe that guy would be Seth. But that was never clarified. And, Cody gave those watches. And it's so interesting that this was a private gift. Cody giving WrestleMania 40 watches to Roman Reigns, The Rock, and Seth Rollins, and one for himself. Those Rolexes with the number 40 on the dial. That was never a television moment. That was never a part of the television story, yet it's become such a crucial part of the television story. Because not only was there that scene when The Rock, came back and the WrestleMania 40 watch was posted on The Rock's Instagram, and we hear about it in documentaries now, but even on Cody's podcast, which everything counts. You got to watch everything. Becky Lynch is on the podcast, and Cody is saying, "Hey, Becky, I never saw Seth wear that watch once." And Becky goes, "Oh, no, he has it. He has it. Did he lose it? Oh, no, he has it. He has it." And then we get to television, and Seth Rollins says, "I'm wearing the watch you gave me. It's the only time I've ever worn it." And you're going, is this the character who would say something like that? Because it's not a nice thing to say. But if it's just the character saying that, and he's in character, then why do we have evidence of, for a shoot, Cody talking to Becky and clearly actually feeling some kind of way about the fact that he's never seen Seth wear that watch? It's the same thing with Seth and CM Punk. It's the same thing with Drew and CM Punk. It's the same thing with Cody and Roman. It's the same thing with Rock and Cody. Where does the story end and reality begin? And do they even know? That, to me, is where all these great stories find themselves. And I feel like that's what made WrestleMania 40 so special, that you just kind of allowed that to play itself out. And I feel like that's there for those rivalries that I just listed if you allow it to kind of play itself out. And I think that it's right there with Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes. So, we get this face-to-face promo on Monday Night Raw where all of this really is broken down. Where the watch is there, where who's the guy, who's the man, who's the top guy in WWE is discussed, all of it. And Paul Heyman is in the ring with them, the whole deal. And I just thought it was a phenomenal segment because it gave background, reason, significance to the Cody Rhodes Seth Rollins match that we'll see at Crown Jewel. So it's not just about a ring. And I feel like this may be the one because it gets so kind of petty instead of gentlemen discussing this match that Cody leaves the ring saying, with those 3 matches, how many of those did you win, Seth? And he leaves. I think Seth Rollins is winning this match at Crown Jewel. I think that it will take Seth further than it would take Cody. And I just think that, the Seth Cody story is still going to be there, but I think Seth Rollins wins this match at Crown Jewel. And because where are you going for WrestleMania with Seth? Is it going to be Seth and Cody? Is it going to be Seth and Roman? Is it going to be Seth and Punk? Those strong wins are wins that I think help Seth Rollins significantly. And I think Seth does win this match, but there's so much more going on with Cody Rhodes, right? Because this thing continues on SmackDown. On SmackDown, Paul Heyman shows up in the ring. And it's a very special thing for me when you see Paul Heyman on SmackDown because he's no longer a SmackDown guy. But when I see Paul Heyman start SmackDown with a promo, I'm immediately back to the Bloodline. And I'm excited. I mean, you know how I am with the Bloodline. It's the best. But it's not about the Bloodline. Paul Heyman is in there, starts with a, what do you want to talk about? And you immediately go, okay, back to the Cody thing. But Paul Heyman brings up Brock Lesnar. And he says it like Brock Lesnar. And he's not running from it. And he's not that name is brought up. And Cody Rhodes comes out and interrupts him. And Cody brings up Brock Lesnar as well. What that tells me is simple. Brock and John Cena may be done, but Brock Lesnar is not done in the WWE. And we'll get into the John Cena stuff, but the more that time moves on from that John Cena-Brock Lesnar match, because I talked about it on the pod, when I saw the Brock Cena match, I assumed it was to set up more Brock Cena matches. I don't think those matches are coming, especially with what we know about Crown Jewel. I think that match was set up to reestablish Brock Lesnar as the force that he once was. I think the reason Brock Lesnar squashed John Cena is because they want the same Brock Lesnar that came out of SummerSlam, 2014? When he crushed John Cena like that? It changed Brock Lesnar, and people say it didn't, but it did. Beating The Undertaker's streak and squashing John Cena changed Brock Lesnar. It made him into somebody that was a formidable heel, that the big attraction could show up and then the good guy could win, to the good guy's not beating Brock Lesnar. And I think that's the Brock Lesnar that we've got. And whoever, I think that the point is, and we'll get into it with the John Cena stuff, but for John Cena to put people over, it's not just about John Cena letting people beat him. For John Cena to put people over, if Brock Lesnar destroys John Cena, and then later on a younger guy beats Brock Lesnar, that's John Cena putting his energy into that. That's John Cena helping whoever beats Brock Lesnar get over, because now the person who beats Brock Lesnar has not only beaten Brock Lesnar, but they've beaten the Brock Lesnar that beat John Cena. And that can be even stronger. So I think that that's probably what's going on, but I think all that is to say that there's more Brock Lesnar on the horizon. But before we can even get into it, of course, Cody Rhodes and Paul Heyman are talking, and then here come the Vision. Here come the Bronsons. That's what they're calling them, I think. Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed show up, and they're stalking Cody Rhodes. And here comes Randy Orton to help Cody Rhodes. And Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes together chase off Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. And I thought that this match was going to be made official for SmackDown. I thought this was going to be our main event for SmackDown. It was not. Randy just had his friend Cody's back. But when Randy takes the championship and gives that title, the belt itself, back to Cody Rhodes, Randy's looking down at it again. And it's those little details that I love as Randy is handing Cody back his championship. Randy is looking at that championship. He's looking at the WWE championship longingly. This is something that I feel like we've seen for over a year now. Randy just quietly lusting over that WWE championship. I feel like this is the reverse of the mega powers exploding. It's taking longer. And the only difference is going to be that when Cody sees that Randy's got lust in his eyes, Cody's going to be the babyface. As opposed to Macho Man, who accused Hulk Hogan of having lust in his eyes. And Macho Man was the babyface because Randy Orton has lust in his eyes when he's looking at the WWE Championship. But he's not the only one in the last 7 days who's had lust in his eyes. Jey Uso has been going through it. Jimmy Uso, he did an interview on the Raw Recap podcast with myself and Megan Morant. And it kind of really clarified what this story is. Jimmy Uso, because, sometimes people do that Raw Recap podcast and they're just like kind of out of character or half in character it runs the gauntlet. But this Jimmy Uso interview, for the most part, was really kind of clarifying to me anyway, and I was there, what this story is. And it was Jimmy saying, I don't know what's up with Jey. He is trying to be like Roman Reigns. I thought that he was all in for joining the Usos again, but it doesn't seem like he is. And really setting Jey Uso up as somebody who's kind of going through it right now. And Cody, on Monday Night Raw, sat down with Jey Uso, found him in the locker room. The Jey Uso, Cody Rhodes friendship is the stuff of legends. Cody and Jey together in a press conference is what started Yeet. I would argue that Cody winning the tag team championship with Jey Uso brought both of them quite a lot when they both needed a lot. But Cody is giving Jey Uso advice, and Jey Uso says that he appreciates it, and he thanks Cody, and he says, don't worry, I'm going to find my way I'm going to find a way, he says. I'm going to find a way to get back to the top, except as Jey Uso is talking to Cody Rhodes about finding his way back to the top, he's looking at the WWE Championship. Cody's WWE Championship. And some of this stuff is going to be red herring. Some of it, not every single, breadcrumb that gets dropped leads to Hansel and Gretel's house or the witch that Hansel and Gretel were in the witch's house. Whatever. You know the story. Some of these breadcrumbs are just breadcrumbs. It's just because somebody was eating a sandwich and it was messy. Other breadcrumbs are leading you to where we're going. But I think that does it mean that both Jey Uso and Randy Orton are at some point going to turn on Cody? It's possible. It's tough for me to say. It's easier for me to believe that that's going to happen with Randy Orton. As much as this story is moving with Jey Uso, it's just very difficult for me to see Jey Uso as a full-blown heel because the audience still loves him. Because everybody is still going crazy for his entrance. Because everybody is still buying up his merch. Because every kid still loves Jey Uso. And Jey Uso is embracing all that still. But strange things happen. This has been a very, very interesting year so far for Jey Uso. And I don't mind the idea of Jey Uso maybe turning. I don't mind the idea of Jey Uso and Cody having a thing. I kind of almost like the idea of listen, and it almost felt like this was the direction that we were going in with Cody until the John Cena heel turn happened at Elimination Chamber. Right? That at the end of last year, this was definitely the direction that we were going in. Then Jey Uso won the Royal Rumble, and it was huh. And then John Cena, and so everything got put on hold at that point. Everything with Randy, and Kevin went away injured after the Royal Rumble. So instead of it, being that murderer's row of people that Cody thought he could count on, it all kind of blew up because John Cena turned heel. Now we're going to WrestleMania with Cody and John Cena. John Cena ends up winning the belt. So everybody that was after Cody for the wrong reasons is no longer around. Cody wins the belt back, but then he's gone for a month after Street Fighter. He has his match with Drew McIntyre, and now we're starting to settle back in to where we were before. And I like the idea, right? Because you're looking around and it's like, okay, well, we had that break where, John Cena was champion for whatever it was, 3 months. But Cody is champion again, and Cody had been champion for a year before that. So who are the Cody opponents now? Who do we, after, Crown Jewel, who are the Cody opponents? Especially he beat Drew. Like he straight up beat Drew McIntyre. So who are the Cody opponents? And maybe it is. Maybe you do start to see this kind of, murderer's row, this Arkham Asylum full of villains. But it's Cody's list of his best friends. You start to see Randy Orton, who wants the title more than he wants to be friends with Cody Rhodes. You start to see Jey Uso, who wants the title more than he wants to be friends with Cody Rhodes. Even Seth Rollins, who wants to be the man so bad, maybe he needs to take that title off of Cody Rhodes. Maybe Braun Breaker comes back. I don't know. But there are potentially a lot of new opponents for Cody Rhodes. It just means that a lot of people are going to have to do kind of an about face, but it's very, very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. We were talking about John Cena, though. John Cena and his match with Brock Lesnar. Now, I was talking last week, I had thought that the idea was that if John Cena is losing like that to Brock Lesnar, that we'll get the return match, and then we can go to War Games, right? And then, especially because there's no John Cena television appearance between now and Perth. However, before the Brock Lesnar match, I had said, with no television between now and Perth, there's 2 matches that I would like to see John Cena have at Crown Jewel. One is the return match with Brock Lesnar, and 2 is AJ Styles. I don't think you need television to build up a match with AJ Styles. In my mind, it was, John doing an open challenge and AJ Styles answering. Then I had the idea of AJ Styles going full WrestleMania 34 and sitting in the audience waiting for John Cena to appear. But instead, Triple H is listening to the fans, and it's John Cena versus AJ Styles. So the way it all worked out was John Cena started tweeting on Monday. The fans want to see it. I'm listening. Do the fans want to see John Cena versus AJ Styles? Then he starts mentioning Triple H. I'm listening. More importantly, are you listening, Triple H? Then AJ Styles starts tweeting about it. And I think that this all reflects on, number one, the idea that when Brock Lesnar beat John Cena, as badly as Brock Lesnar beat John Cena, the WWE was well aware that the audience would be unhappy with it. But that's usually what happens when a good guy gets pummeled like that, especially for John Cena, who's only got however many dates left. I think that the full intention of that match was to leave people upset about Brock Lesnar winning. And what that's going to do is it's going to completely erase any notion that you had. When Brock Lesnar, people started to appreciate Brock Lesnar. Wrestling fans started to appreciate the wrestling ability of Brock Lesnar. When Brock Lesnar did his run with Roman and then did the run with Cody, people were like, oh, you know what? Brock Lesnar actually is really good. We want to throw it all out the window. We want to get rid of all that goodwill. All the goodwill. Remember Brock Lesnar lifting Cody's arm up in the air. All that goodwill needs to go. How are we going to do it? Well, how do we do it before? We had him just destroy John Cena and make people feel uncomfortable about it. So that's what we'll do again, but people are not going to feel happy about that. So let's now for the next match be like, hey, now we're listening. Maybe the last one wasn't great, but now we're listening. So we're going to do John Cena versus AJ Styles. And I think that that's that kind of, I think that the intention is for people to be upset with Brock Lesnar. And then it's like, okay, but people are upset. So how do you get them not upset anymore? Well, you give them the match that everybody actually wants to see. And I agree. I want to see AJ Styles versus John Cena. AJ Styles versus John Cena is one of my favorite John Cena matches ever. Beat up John Cena. It turned John Cena into it gave a completely new perspective on John Cena as a wrestler. And honestly, it gave AJ Styles. It gave me a completely new perspective on AJ Styles as a wrestler as well. The fact that they could find a middle ground and work each other's styles, no pun intended, I thought was phenomenal. And, I think that we want to see this type of stuff. I think that that's evident in the fact that we love all the tributes that John Cena is doing in his matches. We want to see, part of this retirement tour is we want to see return matches. Now, some people are going, AJ Styles, he went out in the press this week, and he did. And he said that he's going to retire probably within the next year. Within the next year, he plans on retiring, and then he wants to stay in WWE and train people, which is wonderful. And AJ Styles is one of my favorite wrestlers. I still want to see John Cena versus AJ Styles. Not every John Cena match needs to be against a young guy. Because, number one, not every young guy is going to beat John Cena. Number two, not every match that he has is going to directly get this guy over. You can't do that for a year. You can do that in special occasions throughout the year. You can put somebody on a pedestal like Logan Paul by putting him in a high-profile match with you and standing in the ring with you doing promos and stuff like that. But ultimately, in terms of just wrestling young guys, that's not going to get people over. We saw that with Solo Sikoa. We saw that with Austin Theory, even more evidently. But so the question is, what's John Cena going to be doing going forward? And, so we have Perth, which is AJ Styles, and then there's 4 more shows. Raw in Boston, Raw in Madison Square Garden, Survivor Series, and what I think is a Saturday night's main event in December, and that's the last John Cena match. So, and it's crazy. It's crazy that we're already there. This year is speeding by. But I think that if we're not telling a story right now, I don't know that we should, with 4 appearances left, I don't know that you need to start an arc. I don't know that you need to start a story. I don't know that you need to build a grudge over more than the course of one night. If there is 5 John Cena appearances left, I'd love to see 5 John Cena matches. Not everything needs a sort of we're going to do a promo, a match. Not anymore. You only got 5 left. One of them's taken by AJ Styles. I think matches on both those episodes of Raw, a match at Survivor Series, and then the final match, that's John Cena. Now, look, I think that realistically, War Games is a consideration. If you are doing John Cena singles matches on both episodes of Raw and Survivor and his final match, and we know we're getting one at Crown Jewel Perth, I think War Games is okay. On one end, I go, well, if Brock Lesnar is not in the War Games match, and he might be, then I don't think John Cena should be in the War Games match. I would love to see a War Games match with Brock Lesnar and John Cena. But if Brock Lesnar's not in the War Games match, then should we just do a John Cena singles match outside of the War Games? First instinct is yes, but then I think to myself, we've never seen John Cena in War Games. And we won't again. He was in the Royal Rumble match. He was in the Elimination Chamber match because it's his last opportunity to be in those matches. Kind of wish he was in the Money in the Bank ladder match, to tell you the truth. And if that's the case, then yeah, maybe we should have John Cena in the War Games match. And I'm not sure that and that's the other thing. It has to be an opponent so good that people are like, yeah, I'm glad he's not in the War Games match. I'm glad we're getting this match instead. Otherwise, you're going to wonder what it would be like to see John Cena in the double ring. And because there's no TV between War Games and his final match, it would make sense to do something in War Games that would build to his final match. So maybe we do 3 singles matches and a War Games match, and that's what we've got with John Cena after Crown Jewel. The Miz, and I posted a video about it. We posted a podcast about it. I talked about it on the live show. Put up a great argument for why he should get one of John Cena's final matches. I think that The Miz cutting a promo on John Cena and then getting, like at the beginning of an episode of Monday Night Raw, whether it's in Boston or the Garden, The Miz cutting a promo and then it building to a Miz versus John Cena match, I think that would be great. At the same time, like I said before, you can use the energy of something to build it into another story. It's not just about, well, he got to win here, so he gets to go here. What if in Boston, The Miz is planning on going out and confronting John Cena and Melo takes over? What if in Boston, right before The Miz can go out the same way, because this has been the build, right? And all Melo don't Miz's tag team matches, Miz has been grabbing the glory. What if we see The Miz ready to go into Gorilla to go confront John Cena? But Melo's already in Gorilla, and Melo's the one that goes out. Miz, I got this. Wait, what? And Melo goes out and confronts John Cena. And Carmelo Hayes is the one that gets the John Cena match in Boston. And then you have Cena versus Melo with The Miz furious. And Cena beats Melo, but they shake each other's hands, and it's a great match. Where does it go? It immediately goes to Miz turning on Melo. So the turn here is right, like Melo having a great match with Cena and the two of them shaking hands is huge for Carmelo Hayes. But where does it go after? You can't just let that energy sit. Miz saying, no, it's okay. It's fine. You did the right thing. And then that same night on SmackDown, next Friday on SmackDown, the Miz saying it's all good. And then attacking Melo in the match and completely turning on Melo. I think Melo as a babyface works. We've seen it in NXT working. People loved Melo. And I think we've seen him as a heel. We've seen the Miz relationship. I think you have Melo face John Cena in Boston. He steals that match from the Miz. It's enough to push the Miz over the edge. After Melo loses to Cena, we do Melo versus the Miz. And that's where Melo is able to get the victory, and that's where he's able to start to build as an upper mid-card babyface on his way to seeing how high up that card he's capable of going, which I think is pretty high up the card. I think the other match that you can have on an episode of Monday Night Raw is absolutely, and I know you guys are going to think I'm standing again, but I'm not standing. Dominic Mysterio versus John Cena. I think everybody would love it. And again, it's one that John Cena can win, but here's the way you do it. I think it's another one. I think it's a similar story, right? I don't think you necessarily need to do a promo. I think that like it's almost like Dominic Mysterio is looking for a match or something like that. We're at Madison Square Garden. Why aren't I wrestling? Like he's complaining to Adam Pearce. Why aren't I wrestling? Why aren't I wrestling? And John Cena walks by. And he goes, I'll take that match. And just leaves. And Dom's like, uh-oh. He doesn't realize what he's gotten into. And now, just like that, we got Dominic Mysterio versus John Cena. Now, I think John Cena should win the match. I think it should be a non-title match. I don't think the Intercontinental Championship, I know people are going, Cena never won the IC title. You can do that. In my mind, don't even bring up the IC title at all because Cena's going to win, but you don't want him to win the Intercontinental Championship 2 weeks before he retires from wrestling. So, and you could even be cute about it. You know what? This could be a non-title match because John Cena would say, because the last thing that I would ever want to do is retire as champion. Little callback. We're having a great time, right? And then we have this match, but the key here, the way Dominic gets over in this match, even though he loses, is they just have a great match. You know, Dominic is so good at being the heel, the weasel. We all like concentrate on the promos and the character work and everything. But Dominic Mysterio is capable of having 5-star matches now. He's amazing. He's improved more than anybody has in the amount of time that Dominic Mysterio has been in WWE. So that's where it is. You don't have any shenanigans. You don't have any tricks. The Judgment Day is nowhere to be found. John Cena wins the match clean, but Dominic Mysterio wrestles an unbelievable match. And again, it allows you to start to move into 2026 where Dominic Mysterio, I think, is going to be a babyface. Liv Morgan comes back and Liv and Dom are babyfaces. Then John Cena can be a member of the babyface team in War Games. And then that last match, man, it all depends on who you want your babyface to be, right? I mean, who you want your big heel to be next year. I think that on one end, you've got somebody like, I mean, Jacob Fatu's name is coming up a lot. I had Drew McIntyre's name coming up a lot. I think Drew McIntyre could be a top heel going into 2026. I don't think Jacob benefits from getting the final match with John Cena at this point. I don't think it would. I think he's already got what it would do for him, to tell you the truth. It'd be cool to see, but I don't think it changes anything. I think Drew McIntyre beating John Cena would be big for Drew McIntyre. But the only reason to do it is because the plan is to make him an unstoppable monster going into 2026. If that's not the plan, don't do it. Don't bother with it. I don't know where Gunther's at in terms of his recovery. But the idea of Gunther coming in at the very end and beating John Cena, well, you've got something there. The idea that Gunther retired both John Cena and Goldberg in the same year, I think builds Gunther up quite a bit. I think Gunther beating John Cena in his final match would be fantastic. Braun Breaker's name comes up a lot. Braun Breaker was the name that I came up with at the very beginning of the year. However, today, I don't think so. I don't think Braun Breaker is the guy to beat John Cena in his final match because I think on the horizon, you have matches with both Brock Lesnar and Gunther. Braun Breaker versus Brock Lesnar, Braun Breaker versus Gunther. The idea of Braun Breaker having already beaten John Cena, it almost starts to make those points moot. You want Braun Breaker to beat Brock Lesnar as the reason why Brock Lesnar beat John Cena. Brock Lesnar beat John Cena so Gunther can beat Brock Lesnar is a story that makes sense. It's a flow of energy that makes sense. Braun Breaker beating John Cena and then beating Brock Lesnar, it doesn't mean anything to me. The same with Gunther. Eventually, you're going to do Braun Breaker versus Gunther. Braun Breaker beating Gunther, who retired Goldberg and John Cena in the same year, is a big deal. Braun Breaker beating Gunther after he already beat John Cena is not nearly as big a deal. And that's why I think it's like guys who haven't beaten other people beating John Cena, it's almost like too early to have them beat John Cena. I really hope Gunther's back in time because today, as of now, and this flip-flops all the time, Gunther might be my guy. He'd be really, really good. Guys, we'll get right back to it, but if we can take a second, I know that our schedules may suck. I know mine does. Very, very busy, but nutrition, it doesn't have to suffer as well. Huel is coming in clutch with their Black Edition powder. It's a complete meal that costs less than $3 and is packed with 40 grams of plant-based protein and 27 vitamins and minerals your body needs to thrive. There's no added sugar, there's no gluten, and it comes in unbelievable flavors. I'm talking about cinnamon roll. I'm talking about cookies and cream. Look, there are two things that I need to get nutrition in. It's got to be quick because I don't have a lot of time, and it's got to taste good because I don't have a lot of discipline. And that's where Huel comes in the clutch for me. Save your wallet, your waistline, and a ton of time. Add 2 scoops of Black Edition powder to 17 ounces of water. You shake it up for 20 seconds. That's it. It couldn't be easier to give your body the nutrition it needs. If you want even more nutrients, try Huel's Daily Greens ready to drink with just 25 calories, 42 vitamins and minerals, superfoods. It's a sparkling drink that's quick and it's convenient. And it comes in awesome fruit flavors. Together, Huel makes healthy eating simple. Try both today with 15% off your purchase for new customers with my exclusive code NOTSAM at Huel.com/NotSam. Use my code and fill out the post-checkout survey to support the show. I'll tell you who's not my guy. And this came up, Cope is on Dynamite. And they aired a video of him in the locker room at All Out saying he was leaving AEW for a while to take care of his family. After Beth Copeland, FKA Beth Phoenix, took a pile driver from FTR at All Out. And there were people speculating wildly, Edge can come back to WWE. Edge can be on the retirement tour. Edge ain't coming back for the retirement tour. Edge is not coming back this year. Would I love to see it? Yes. Do I want to see another John Cena versus Edge match? Yes. John Cena's greatest rivals, Randy Orton, Edge, tied for number 1. Greatest opponent, greatest match, then you're going into the AJ Styles and stuff. But greatest rival, it's Randy Orton and Edge. But the reality is, even without looking into contracts, even without calling up lawyers, even without, pretending I have information that I don't, which doesn't stop anybody else from reporting on the internet, but is going to stop me. Just watching the show, because that's all I do is watch the product. Why would AEW set up this massive angle with Cope's wife coming out and FTR getting the victory, this huge thing, and then give Cope this wonderful farewell where he says goodbye to Christian because he's going to the other guy's show? That's nuts. There's no way that is the exit that AEW gave to Cope, knowing that Cope is coming to WWE. It just doesn't make sense. I can't believe it. I won't believe it. And therefore, just watching the show tells me that Cope is going to be back in AEW because the storyline is wide open for Cope and Beth and Christian to get their revenge on FTR. Now, the other person walking away from AEW, I think, is compelling even more so. MJF surprised me, and I think I talked about it, when he lost to Mystico and Mark Briscoe in the same weekend. I thought he would lose to Mystico. I thought he was going to beat Mark Briscoe. But that's how you put somebody over on the way out, by the way. Mark Briscoe beating MJF is a huge victory for Mark Briscoe, and that's what MJF did for him. He cut a promo. Again, this was taped at All Out and then aired on AEW Dynamite. But with the idea of MJF saying, look, I got to go find the monster I used to be. I have to find my worst self. I'm going to come back the biggest monster I've ever been. And it was music to my ears. When MJF said that, eating thumbtacks off of his shoulder, saying he was getting rid of all of his insecurities, he was getting rid of all of his doubts, and he was coming back to destroy, it's just the best, man. I don't think MJF or AEW are ever better than when MJF is the top guy. I mean, there was a period of time in 2023, going into 2024, where the conversations we were having were, is MJF the biggest star in the industry? Those were the conversations. And that stopped after 2024. At some point, it was almost like, I feel like the All-In match with Adam Cole, and you could argue that the conversation stopped when MJF turned babyface, but after that All-Out world title match, that was the end of that conversation happening in that period of time. And there are a lot of reasons for it. MJF is a babyface. Adam Cole being injured and that storyline never getting to fully pay off the way we wanted it to. And then after that, MJF going away, coming back, going away. He was in and out. He was never the top guy. And I think people have forgotten, you know what I mean? What he's fully capable of. And I think it's time for MJF to remind people. I think it's okay. You re-sign. You kind of take it slow in the beginning, and then as that contract starts to run through, that's when you start to build that hype train again. And I would love to see MJF go on another epic run, and I think he's very capable of it. I said before, I would love a story of MJF just dragging Adam Page back down to the doldrums that Adam Page once lived in. The whole story of Adam Page winning the AEW championship from Jon Moxley was that Adam Page freed himself of the demons that had been dragging him down for all this time, years, since he won his first AEW championship. If MJF were able to get in there and destroy Adam Page's life, have him dragged down to become a shell of who he is now, to become far more similar to the person he was then, only to then also take the AEW championship from him, that's the story that I want to see. And I want to see MJF as AEW champion. And then I want to see Bobby Lashley come after MJF. I want to see MJF beat Bobby Lashley. I want to see some real stories come out of MJF. I want to see the MJF that fought Bryan Danielson. I want to see the MJF that fought CM Punk. I want to see that MJF that sat in this studio, in this basement, before the bidding war of 2024 and told me that he did not like the cookies that my wife made. I didn't like it when it was happening, but as an onlooker, as a fan, I think it is. I think it is something that we need, and I hope we see it. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see it. Now the other crown jewel match that is now official is Tiffany Stratton versus Stephanie Vaquer. First, let me talk about this match, and then I will talk about how we got there. I think this is a great match for both parties. I'm very interested to see how Perth reacts to both parties. Perth, Australia is the place where people really started to realize how popular Tiffany Stratton was. Perth Elimination Chamber was when Tiffy was a full-blown heel. And they were chanting, Tiffy time, Tiffy time. That was the beginning of it. I want to say it was February 24. And ever since then, it's been an ascension that has brought her all the way to the WWE Women's Championship. All that said, I don't know many people in that women's division that have the kind of momentum right now that Stephanie Vaquer has. Stephanie Vaquer has momentum for days. People love her and they see her as the future. I think Stephanie ends up being the one to get cheered, and I think it's I think putting Tiffany and Stephanie together in a match may be enough to start drifting Tiffany back into that heel territory because of how much people are going to cheer for Stephanie Vaquer. And I don't think that'll be a bad thing for Tiffany Stratton at all, by the way. I think she's a great heel. But I think between how much people love Stephanie and how messy it was getting Tiffany into the match at Crown Jewel, I definitely think Stephanie is going to be cheered. Look, the main event of Smackdown did not end up the way anybody wanted it to, I would imagine. I don't know, but I would imagine. It was edited on WWE's YouTube channel, but, WWE on USA, which is also a YouTube channel, they didn't do anybody any favors. The match, as of this time, was still up there as it aired on television. So, obviously, things went wonky, right? First, Jade Cargill ends up careening headfirst, legit, into steel stairs, busted open, hard way, as the old school territory wrestlers would say. And I mean, Jade Cargill posted a photo of it on her Instagram. It is an ugly gash. I mean, just a chunk taken out of her head. It immediately busted open, bleeding, blood dripping onto the mat. It was hideous. I mean, it was, nuts, right? So the minute Jade Cargill is legit busted open, has gotten her head slammed into a steel stair, I would imagine the match changes. Jade, though, looks right into the camera. She must have had that adrenaline pumping. You made me bleed my own blood. And is going crazy, okay? Then we get into the ring. Jade does her move to Nia, goes to cover Nia. I believe that this is where it all went topsy-turvy. And a lot of people are casting a lot of blame on specific individuals. And I think that the people that I have heard that are deciding to cast blame on specific individuals have no idea who was actually responsible for everything that went down. And the reason that I know that these people have no idea who was actually responsible for everything that went down is because I have no idea who was responsible for everything that went down. I don't know what the plan was. It felt like there were multiple spots where the plan went awry. It looked like stuff was getting called on the fly. But that's what happens in wrestling sometimes. And unfortunately, this time, it was made very clear to the audience, both in the arena and at home, that something went awry. Because Nia Jax is getting pinned by Jade Cargill. Jade does her move to Nia. The referee counts 1. The referee counts 2. Nia kicks out of her own power. And then after Nia kicks out, Tiffany Stratton comes in to break up the pin. I would imagine, based on what I know about wrestling, that Tiffany Stratton was supposed to be there to break up the pin before it hit 3. I would imagine that Nia Jax was not supposed to break up that pin, or was not supposed to kick out of that pin. I would imagine Tiffany was supposed to break it up, because then Tiffany immediately goes for the cover. Referee counts 1, 2, Nia is not lifting her shoulders, and the referee kind of slides her hand as if to say, oh, that shoulder's up. No, it's only 2. And Nia, you could see, is looking at the referee going, like, what are you doing? Like, what is happening right now? And the referee did not look like she was lost. The referee looked like what she had done was intentional, which leads me to believe that maybe I learned about all these referee earpieces on a show called Unreal. Okay, WWE, unreal. I learned all about them. Okay, and I've got to believe that the referee was told something in her earpiece, just like I saw on Unreal, because the referee did not look like, oh yeah, I made a mistake. The referee looked like, no, I got to tell you guys why I did that. And also, knowing wrestling like we know wrestling, I've got to believe that Nia Jax not kicking out of the pin made no sense. Jade did a move to Nia. Nia kicked out of the move. Tiffany pushed Jade out of the ring and went to cover Nia. Why would Nia not be able to kick out of that cover? Why on earth would Nia Jax not be able to kick out after the move, after she already kicked out of the move that put her down to begin with? Why the second pin should be easier to kick out of than the first pin was. And I think that there was somebody that knew that, because then the call was clearly made, don't count 3, and I think Tiffany was probably instructed to go do a prettiest moonsault ever and then actually finish this match with her finish. I think that it was probably done in an effort so that nobody would look foolish, and unfortunately a lot of people did look foolish, and we saw it, but these things happen. These things happen on live professional wrestling. Not the desired outcome. I would be fascinated to find out what actually happened. It does not fascinate me to listen to people watching it on TV the same way I did, telling me what happened, who have no idea what happened. But I think that's the string of events. I think that first, Jade, the way I saw it, and I could be wrong, Jade hits her head on the steel stairs. Not supposed to happen. Now she's bleeding. Tiffany misses breaking up the pin. Not supposed to happen. Was supposed to break up the pin. The referee, Nia Jax, does not kick out of the fall. I think maybe that was where the match was supposed to end. Except because Nia kicked out, everything changed, and psychologically it doesn't no longer make sense for the match to end there. Or Jade Cargill was going to win the match to begin with. Who's to say? I doubt that that's the case. I don't think so. But it's possible. It's all possible. But it was a mess, unfortunately. And all you can do is move forward in wrestling. That's the good part about there being as much wrestling on TV as there is. It's like doing radio. If I do a radio show and I'm like, well, that sucked, the best part about it is I get to go on the radio tomorrow. I'll just do a good show tomorrow because that one sucked. I think that's sometimes the way you got to look at wrestling as well. I want to talk about No Mercy. I want to talk about Invasion. No Mercy No Mercy was a great show. New NXT champion in Ricky Saints. Invasion coming up on Tuesday. You know what? Maybe we'll talk about it on the SiriusXM show, and I will drop a Notsam Wrestling update. Yes, I will talk about what I thought of No Mercy, and specifically what I think about the Invasion show coming up on October 7th. I'll drop that as a Notsam Wrestling update maybe on Tuesday morning. Maybe that's when we'll get this. Tomorrow, we'll say, if you're watching this when it comes out. Because I also want to get to emails. If you got anything that you want to contribute to the show, notsamwrestling@gmail.com is the email address. That's notsamwrestling@gmail.com. Don't forget, when I say on Sirius, I'm talking about Notsam Wrestling Live, which airs on SiriusXM. Pro Wrestling Nation 24/7 is the channel. And we're on every day, Monday through Thursday, 12 to 2 p.m. Eastern. Live, you call in. It's great. Let's get to notsamwrestling@gmail.com. And don't forget, by the way, to subscribe to this podcast across all audio platforms, Apple, Spotify, everywhere. Subscribe to the YouTube channel as well. We're almost at 100,000 subscribers. We are so close to 100,000 subscribers. It's like, I don't know, 50, 60, 70, something like, I don't know. I think we're within 75 people subscribing to the channel of 100,000 subscribers, which, building this as a second YouTube channel, coming off the Notsam channel, struggling to figure out its identity, and then really zoning in on doing the podcast on the YouTube channel. It's been an incredible journey thus far. I would love to hit 100,000 soon. So if you guys wouldn't mind, if you're not already, subscribe to the channel. Ask your friends to subscribe to the channel. Let's get it to 100,000, and let's get ourselves a plaque, huh? That'd be fun. NotSamWrestling@gmail.com is our email address. Connor writes in Dallas. What's up, Sam? I was thinking about who could potentially be Stephanie Vaquer's first title defense opponent after Crown Jewel, which led me to Becky Lynch. Interesting. I'm picking Stephanie and Seth to win their Crown Jewel championship matches in Perth. I am agreeing with you as of now, Connor. Those are my picks as well. Assuming Cody versus Seth is the main event for Crown Jewel, I would assume it is. Stephanie could come to the ring after the match to have a moment with Seth. I don't know. I guess so. In front of the crowd, the way Cody and Liv did last year. That could lead to an encounter between Becky and Stephanie, potentially building title versus title at Survivor Series if they are not put into a War Games match. I don't know. Becky has done, here's why I wouldn't do it. Becky has done an incredible job of building up the Intercontinental Championship. I think Becky's got to lose the Intercontinental Championship before she enters in to a world title feud. I think title versus title is going to damage the Intercontinental Championship. I just, because if they do title versus title, I think Stephanie wins and then vacates the Intercontinental Championship, which I feel like if you've then got to determine a new women's Intercontinental Champion again, it just doesn't, it kind of throws out all the goodwill that Becky built for the Women's Intercontinental Championship. So I think that Becky's run with the Intercontinental Championship has to end before she starts anything with Stephanie Vaquer. Let's go to Mark in Tarzana. Mark says, Fatu, and with that, we will say... Fatu! Did Oba's loss at No Mercy signal his call up to the main roster? No, not necessarily. If he is called up, do you think he should go to SmackDown or Raw? And who do you see him going up against first? Oba versus the MFTs could be fun. As always, I appreciate you, my PTC. No, here's the thing. Like, everybody thinks, and it happens, but everybody thinks somebody loses the championship, they're going to the main roster. And more often than not, they don't go to the main roster. They start another story on NXT that develops another side of their character. This is what happened with Braun Breaker. This is what happened with Trick Williams. This is what happened with Mello. All of this stuff, they don't just be the champion and then go to the main roster. That very rarely happens. Especially with this invasion angle happening right now, I would think Oba's going to stick around for a little bit. Here's the thing. Like, I think a great way to debut Oba Femi would be to have him answer Sami Zayn's United States Championship Open Challenge. I think he could be to Kevin Owens. He could be to Sami Zayn what Kevin Owens was to John Cena. I think Oba answering Sami Zayn's U.S. Open Challenge and then beating Sami Zayn would be a great move. And you could even potentially make Oba Femi a heel when he gets to SmackDown. But I think first match on SmackDown, he wins the United States Championship would be amazing for Oba Femi. And then he starts this feud with Sami Zayn and everything. I don't know that it'll happen immediately because Shinsuke Nakamura has been lingering in the background of all these Sami Zayn segments. So it makes me feel like we're going to get a Shin versus Sami rivalry. But yeah, that's what I would like to see happen. I would like to see Oba. Sami's got an open challenge. The whole reason to do an open challenge is to build and build and build until it makes somebody. I think the best part about John Cena's open challenge was that it made Kevin Owens. It made him. Remember when he held up the NXT World Championship and put his foot over the United States Championship? It made him. It almost made Sami Zayn, but Sami Zayn caught an injury in that match. And so then the energy went over to Kevin Owens. But I think Oba coming in and beating Sami Zayn, and this could happen in a little while, in a month or two. Like, Oba beating Sami Zayn for the United States Championship. Then he goes into the Rumble, and he has a good showing. He doesn't win the Rumble, but he has a good showing in the Rumble. I'd say towards the end of the year, have Oba debut on SmackDown, win the United States Championship. Next big thing is enter the Royal Rumble, have a dominant performance in the Rumble. I think that maybe you could put him in the Elimination Chamber match and have him take a fall in the Elimination Chamber match because you want to rip that Band-Aid off. You don't want him to be undefeated. And then have him, listen, you want to do a big match at WrestleMania? United States Championship, Jacob Fatu versus Obafemi. Build Jacob Fatu as a babyface, have him beat Drew, and then do Obafemi versus Jacob Fatu at WrestleMania for the United States Championship. Okay. I think I just booked you Obafemi. United States Championship. Bring it to the main roster in December. Beat Sami Zayn. Dominates in the Rumble. Heals out for a month. Maybe is in the Elimination Chamber match. Maybe not. Doesn't have to be. But it all builds to Jacob Fatu versus Obafemi at WrestleMania. And I can't tell you who's going to win that match. We'll get there when we get there. I might want to make a clip out of that. That was some good fantasy booking. Sorry, I'm writing it down right now so I don't forget. Sometimes I impress myself. Oisin from Ireland. I'm sorry if I mispronounce your name. You Irish, you spell things. I mean, the first time I met a girl named Siobhan from Ireland, I mean, I called her Siobahan. Siobahan. I don't know how you guys are doing it. Let's see. Oisin. There's no way it's Oisin. Maybe it's Oisin. I don't know. You'll have to tell me. First of all, can I get a yeah? Yeah. I don't know why it took me so long to come to this epiphany, but the Wyatt Six are all together as a family because they have all lost family. That's what links them. Initially, I thought, it's because they're all kooky characters. But, okay, Bo lost Bray, obviously the main one, his actual brother. Rowan lost Harper and Bray, his brothers. Dexter lost Indy, his wife. Come on. Gacy lost the dyad. Culty, but still counts. I don't know about Nikki is the one I'm that's because you're reaching, buddy. You're reaching. Do you think I'm reading too much into it, or does everything count? No, I think you're reading too much into it. I don't think the Bo and Rowan things, yes. Dexter, Gacy, and Nikki, no. No, that's like saying Nikki lost sanity. Remember when she was in Sanity with Eric Young? No. I don't. There's no way. Because remember when Dexter was like with The Way or what? No, of course not. I think it was because these are the people that Bray Wyatt had his eyes on and wanted to do stuff with. I think that's the connective tissue, but I don't agree with the other stuff. I mean, Avik, if Bret Hitman Hart stayed in WWE after Survivor Series 97, do you think he would have been the main event of WrestleMania 14, Austin versus Hitman? Well, no, because they would have put the title back on Shawn. They didn't take the title off Bret because he was leaving. I don't think. Here's the thing. I mean, it was so weird then. You know what I mean? I don't even know if Austin would have been the main event. Like, if Bret was going to stay with WWE, would the main event of WrestleMania 14 been Shawn versus Bret? Everything would have been different if Bret stuck around. If Bret were staying in WWE, let's see, when was that decision made? I want to say in October it was made. So Bret still wins the title at SummerSlam against The Undertaker. So, but that decision gets made before the Rumble. So do you do Bret versus Shawn at Survivor Series 97? Or do you hold off on that? Do you have Shawn win the Royal Rumble? And do you do a Bret Hart? Do you save Bret versus Shawn from SummerSlam to go all the way to the Rumble? Because then you have Bad Blood, which is Undertaker versus Shawn in the Hell in a Cell match. So then, and then you're going in to Undertaker versus Kane, but then who does Austin wrestle at WrestleMania 14 if Bret is wrestling Shawn? It's hard to believe that it would be, Bret versus Austin would be a hell of a rematch, but then what are you doing with Shawn? Like, politically, how does that work? Because Shawn is not going to be happy not being in the main event of that show. But he's injured, so he's only going to be around for a little while. Is there somebody else? Okay, what about this? So Hunter is still eating crap because of Farewell to the Clique, right? Do you do I think you might end up with Undertaker versus Kane, Brett versus Austin in the main event. And if Shawn is leaving anyway, because you still are probably doing Shawn versus... No, because Shawn versus Taker at Rumble doesn't happen because Shawn's not the champion. So, because in my head, so Shawn doesn't get injured. Because if it's not Shawn versus Taker defending the title, because then I go, you could do Shawn versus Hunter if Shawn is going away and you build up Triple H that way. But Shawn's not injured if Shawn's not the champion because he doesn't have the match with The Undertaker. Unless he's still... No, because Brett has the match with The Undertaker. I don't know. Avik, I have to rewrite the whole 97 if that happens. Austin versus Hitman is the main event. It takes a while to get there. Because if he's not leaving, does Brett beat does Brett beat Shawn in Montreal? And then does he beat Undertaker at Royal Rumble? Do you do a rematch at Royal Rumble? I might have to... This sounds like a whole podcast to do outside of this. I might have to rebook the Attitude Era. Joe writes in, hope all is well with you and yours. You have a way of talking people off a wrestling ledge. Can you explain why Julia's championship run has been a strong case of creative malpractice? She won the title in June. First defense against Zelina in August. Second defense against Michin in September. Now she's in a tag against B-Fab and Michin. 2 superstars she's already defeated. It's frustrating. Well, no, I think it's I think Julia has not yet established an identity on the main roster. I think that Julia and Stephanie Vaquer came to NXT at the same time, came to the main roster at similar times, and I think that the audience has taken to Stephanie Vaquer, and I think Julia, everybody's still trying to figure out. Look, for me, like maybe I'm looking at it too simply. I think that the audience is having a little bit of difficulty figuring out who Julia is. They call Julia the beautiful Madness. I have not seen Madness. I've seen beautiful. I have not seen Madness. Like, Julia needs to start flipping out on people. Julia needs to get dangerous. I need to see a dangerous Julia to justify the madness. Because otherwise, I don't know who this person is. She looks spectacular. She looks like a star. She's got her song. She got all the smoke going and everything. She has those very elaborate masks. She looks like a walking, talking action figure. It's incredible. But who is she? If she's the beautiful Madness, show me Madness. It's not even about opponents. I just need Madness. All right, last email. Zach from Adelaide. Adelaide. Beautiful Adelaide. What's the hap, Sam? Hope all is well. I have 2 fantasy bookings. Okay. That I've been wildly speculating since the news of Cope's, one, Cope's AEW segment, and 2, the combined announcement of Mickie James into the TNA Hall of Fame and AJ Styles' rumored retirement in 2026. Okay, so a couple of things there. You know how I feel about the Cope AEW segment, so I hope I don't get annoyed. Number 2, yes, it was announced actually on Notsam Wrestling that Mickie James was going into the Hall of Fame. Tommy Dreamer decided to surprise Mickie James on Notsam to make the announcement that video and podcast is available across all the Notsam feeds. And yes, AJ Styles said he's retiring within a year in an interview. Okay, so the first one, the potential Cena Edge final appearance match. It's not happening. If, and I know it's a big if it happens, how would you book it? If it happened, it would be Cena versus a mystery opponent, and then Cena would show up to his final match, and then it would go, you think you know me. That would be it. That would be how you would do that. But it's not happening. I've been thinking in Cena's second to last match, a mystery man in a motorcycle helmet appears, spears Cena, costs him the match, calling back to ECW One Night Stand. I know we don't want Cena to keep losing, but I'd hate for that match to be babyface. It would just be a match. Edge is not getting booed if he comes back to face John Cena. It would just be mystery opponent. You think you know me. Everybody cheers. Cena beats Edge one last time, and that's it. That's the match. I mean, there's no reason to do it any other way, but it's not happening. And number 2, I loved your interview/announcement with Mickie. Thank you. When she found out about the Hall of Fame, thanks for putting those snippets on YouTube. It's great for us overseas who can't always listen to Pro Wrestling Nation. That's right. Overseas, you can't legally, I don't think, get Sirius XM. So I'm happy to share that with you guys. Anyway, Mickey mentioning how special the moment of the Women's Rumble got me thinking about a way to have a special moment with the men's TNA title. What about it being defended at Mania? Come on, dude. A scenario could be that Trick survives with the title through the invasion angle. Then who would challenge him but AJ Styles? AJ Styles can win the match at Mania. We're not doing Trick Williams versus AJ Styles for the TNA title at WrestleMania. I mean, you might be able to do that stand and deliver, but it's not going to happen at WrestleMania, buddy. I appreciate it, but we're going to do one more email. Mike writes in, it was just announced that Kenan Thompson is going to produce a new biopic about the career and legacy of Macho Man Randy Savage. In your opinion, here we go. Which actor would you like to see portraying Randy Savage in this movie? Let's see. I think he's got to have that growl on him, right? I think, there's two ways to play him. I think the dude from The Boys could do a good job, but that would be almost cartoony. It would almost be a caricature of Macho Man. Honestly, I keep coming back to it, and maybe it's because I thought he did a really good Kerry Von Erich. I think Jeremy Allen White could pull off Macho Man. I don't know if he could do the voice right. I would have to hear him try to do the voice. But that's what I would want. I don't want that Macho Man. I would want that Macho Man. And I feel like Jeremy Allen White could probably pull off the Macho Man. I don't know if he could do I don't want but I want if you're talking about Randy Poffo, I think Jeremy Allen White, dries his hair out a little bit, dyes it black, grows a nice big beard. I think you could have something there. It's a little, I don't know that many people are going to pick him, but I would pick him. Thank you guys for hanging out today. We'll be updating the podcast feed throughout the week. Who knows? Maybe we'll even have to blare that emergency siren when Notsam Wrestling continues to feed you all the wrestling content that you need. Make sure you subscribe to that channel. Get us to 100,000. Imagine if we did it this week. That would be nuts. Subscribe to the podcast feed across all audio platforms, and we will see you again very soon here on Notsam Wrestling. Don't forget to buy your Sam Roberts figure. The link to it's in the description.